Welcome to Talking Twaddle, a Better Being Me podcast, the podcast where we unpack the neurodivergent experience, not just in theory, but in all its messy, beautiful, everyday reality. I'm Joanne Hatchard, and I'm here because I believe something important. Your story might feel deeply personal and even isolating, but it's not unique. That might sound strange at first because in the thick of it, when you're feeling like an alien at the window, disconnected from your body, or like you're constantly just one step outside of belonging, it feels so personal, like no one else could possibly understand. But here's the thing, those exact feelings, they're shared over and over again across this beautifully neurodivergent community. So this podcast isn't about highlighting one way to be or do neurodivergence right. It's about making space for all of the common threads in our story, the ones that remind us we're not alone, we're not broken, and we're not doing this by ourselves. This is our journey, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Welcome to today's episode, which I have got the most amazing Claire Britton on Talking Twaddle. Today we met at Childkind. She has been one of my biggest surprise supporters just in the industry and really helping other voices be promoted within the neuroaffirming space. So I am very honored and grateful for having Claire on today's show. Say hello, Claire.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And absolutely massive cheerleader. Such an incredible perspective and much needed in our neurodiversity space, especially in Australia.
I am available overseas if anybody wants to have me.
Oh, for sure. I don't know about now in the airspace issues.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Canada I'm good for. New Zealand for
Oh,
sure.
totally fair.
Anything that side, all good. But thank you so much, Claire, for joining me today. As I said, we met at Childkind Conference just last year, and I am amazed at your business trajectory. So I'm very excited to hear more about your own neurodivergent journey. But you have created a absolute freaking firehouse of a business, and in such a short period of time. I feel like it's the ADHD of right. Oh, that's how it's done. Okay, fucking yeah, I can do that. No dramas.
Yeah, definitely. In hindsight, and of course it was going to be like this, but I feel like I'm one of the most shocked people about it because I'm a sole trader. And I think the first 6 staff that I hired, I was like, you don't really want me as your boss. I'm not really like a leader. I'm more of a follower. I'm more of a just doing things the way that makes sense to me. If you want to, I guess we could give it a go. And that's how it started.
And then how many staff later?
We got up to 25 just before Christmas. It's constantly changing now. I feel like the climate with thriving kids is changing everything. But yeah, comfortably sitting around the 20, which is very cool. Very cool.
Very cool. Just whatever. Just a little 20.
Oh,
I struggle to employ my partner.
It's so interesting though, because I feel like being neurodivergent, I always thought I was a failure, or I still probably do default to that. Like, I'm not going to do very well, and that's a much safer spot for me.
Yeah.
So the way that I've learned to fight the imposter syndrome and all of that is that I genuinely love my team. Like, my team is so incredible, and I think that I physically can't support 400 clients. So to know that I have a team that I admire, that I like literally have supported their training, their development, then that lights my fire more than anything. So I feel like that's how I've been able to fight through my own. I'm not a leader. I'm just one person who just does the thing. But actually seeing it grow beyond just an idea in my head or like a physical thing that I can do has been the best.
And it means that there's increasing numbers of neuroaffirming practices out there because you have OTs, that's your core.
Yeah, we only have OTs. It's been really hard to hire outside of OTs, especially in WA at the moment. And it's been, especially with the NDIS changes in price guides and things like that, a lot of people who were going to study physio suddenly looked at the price changes. The physios got paid a lot less. And so OT became a lot more competitive in the unis, got a lot more competitive in the industry. So we've stayed in the OT land, just as all the other allied health are having a bit of a different journey at this point. So whilst there's rapid growth, we're stuck in that lane for now. We'll see how long that lasts. But I'm very big on multi-disc, and I believe the magic is in a proper multi-disc team.
Yeah. Yes, and it's, yeah, we could wax and wane about NDIS, but it has created the opportunities for people to get supports that had not existed in the past and created so many industries. I don't think social work would have been a easily viable industry without NDIS in the past at all.
Great.
So it's been great to be able to see all of the different spaces come along. And now it's basically fighting for the right supports and the right recognition. The amount of pressure that's on OTs at the moment is just astronomical.
Yeah, we've almost been given all of this power and sold that this is a great thing for the profession, and we really bought into that, only to be used as the scapegoat for like when clients don't get what they want or don't get what they need, because we're the ones on the front line working with the clients. When NDIS aren't returning calls or aren't held accountable for the decisions that they make, the OT who turns up next week cops the brunt of it, which we definitely have experienced a lot of. And it's been really challenging navigating. It's one thing to build a workplace and build an organization that's neuroaffirming and is neurodivergent led, but that doesn't negate the previous traumas and the hardships that families and clients have experienced before us.
Yeah.
So even though they're like, yay, we found you, we're so excited, a lot of the time they bring a lot of anxiety, a lot of previous stress from last providers, maybe misusing their funding, not being open about receipts and payments and things like that. So it starts the relationship off. Can you prove that you're worth this? Can you prove that this service is what it says it is? And that's been really interesting, because I'd love to say that you just, similar to starting a new job, right? You just got a new job and you can just move somewhere better, or that the previous issues are just going to dissolve. But actually, that's not necessarily the case. And that's something that we have to constantly work through. Is this an issue that we have caused or we are contributing to, or is this also due to previous events and previous things? And that's, quite tricky to navigate.
Yes. It's a head fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 1000%.
And I think I'm just cutting paper now. I should find a different fidget. There we are. I think the NDIS, when they come along and they think OTs are going to solve the world, it like the pressure of, oh, you can have your OT and they'll solve that. You can go to your OT and they'll solve that. And then when all of a sudden at the end of the review, like, how come you didn't do it all? It's like, I'm only one fucking OT. And generally only 1 hour a fortnight or whatever. What do you expect to a human to actually absorb, let alone provide treatment for within that time frame? And it cannot be all under OT.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's a lot to figure out, and I think the way that they're trying to do it is by computerizing and making it much more objective, but obviously that takes the human out of it, and that's also not best practice, and we know this, and we've had many models of many fundings for many decades, and yet we still go around these loops where we're like, okay, let's differentiate now, let's make it all one, and then let's differentiate. And it's just different governments, different plans and agendas, and we just get to cop the brunt of that, unfortunately. And hopefully the best case scenario is they can just give us a bit more of a heads up, because that means that we can all better prepare our clients and our businesses and ourselves, because we all don't like change either. And finding out information at the same time as clients is really hard and really challenging when we're all so vulnerable.
And generally via Facebook, no official communication anywhere.
No, that's it. Absolutely. And there's no, this is the CEO of NDIS. This is the person that's making all the decisions. It's just floated around all sorts of information channels and things like that. So, yeah, very tricky.
Enough about them. They make me sad.
Totally fair.
Tell me how has the neurodivergent like impacted your business? And at what point were you on the neurodivergent train? Like, when did you get that recognition?
So for me, I got the recognition when I had been practicing as an OT for 7 years, and I just thought I was really good at my job. I just thought I was a really natural with my autistic ADHD clients. I just thought I was just really good at it. I thought, "Oh, I love reading research, I love reading textbooks. I'm very much a sponge when it comes to anything like that." Obviously, hindsight, hyperfixation to a T and all that jazz. But I just thought that because I had read so much, that's why I understood it on a different level than most people. And for me, it took having my first son because I had this beautiful baby and I had envisaged what maternity leave was going to look like, what motherhood was going to look like. I had such great grand plans. And the biggest one being that my beautiful son, he really needed contact napping, which I was all for. But it really hit me that I had to be really still because if I
Mhm.
moved, he'd wake up. So I was very motivated and passionate and driven to not move so that he would sleep. And
Yeah.
I really valued his sleep over my own health. And so as I couldn't move as much as what I normally did, I slowly started to notice that my hyperactivity, because I wasn't physically hyperactive, it escaped into my brain and took me on
Mm.
all sorts of tangents that I never knew it could go on. And so ultimately that led to postpartum anxiety and depression. And I was just like, this doesn't make sense to me. There's more going on here. I've always had OCD and anxiety that was diagnosed when I was like 13. So I was always aware of that. But I think at that point, it was becoming really obvious that just sitting still was causing me problems. Like, I couldn't just sit there while he was sleeping. I couldn't just sit there while I was breastfeeding because that was hours and hours. And this was also during COVID, so we couldn't really go anywhere anyway. And we had just recently moved from Melbourne to Perth, so our social circles were a lot smaller. We'd just started new jobs, so everything was very new, and
Mm.
all that change all in one hit was a recipe for burnout, but I didn't know that was what it was. And at the time, I was just like, "Oh, yeah, it's anxiety, it's depression. Oh, my OCD is just acting up a little bit." But I was fortunate that I was like, "I need help. I'm gonna go get help." And I had a really good psychiatrist, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, absolutely. How have you not known? Like, how is" which is so funny because you go into these appointments, thinking that they're gonna tell you're full of rubbish and,
Yeah.
"Oh, no. You probably just watched too many, like, TikToks." You just get so used to the narrative of people dismissing
Mm.
diagnoses or self-diagnoses, but to have them be like, "Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, no, we don't even need to do that assessment. Let's just do this one. It's just a screener, but we're pretty sure." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, great." 'Cause I spent, like, the past
Living.
2 weeks, like, freaking out. Am I
Yeah.
spending all this money on myself, and I'm so selfish, and,
Mm.
is they gonna be the outcome that even makes sense? That's no. So that was the big turning point for me that okay, this is the thing, this is what I need. And then it was postpartum with my second that I was like, okay, I want to survive postpartum much happier than the first time
Mm.
round. That's when I explored ADHD medication and my life completely changed. And at that point that I was medicated was the point where I was able to start a business because my brain actually worked and it actually could sequence things and could put things together, and I could not
Side
ignore
quest.
certain facts and things.
Mm.
Yeah, that's it. Like, for so long, I always thought that the way that I do things just didn't make sense to everyone else, so I
Mm.
must be wrong. But I think by having the medication, I could see, I'm like, "But this makes sense to me." For example, like, if in our business, our therapists have a caseload, like most therapists do, but our caseloads are color coordinated in the
Mhm.
traffic light system. So green being like, "This client's my jam, love working with them," yellow being like, "We're still figuring each other out," and red being like, "I either don't have the skills or we're just not meshing."
Mm.
That makes sense because we know that it's always about relationship. So why not ensure that everyone has that? And so when I
Yeah.
was in leadership in bigger organizations, and I was pitching these ideas and they're like, absolutely not. That means that no one will want to work with clients, like we'll lose staff. And in my head, I'm thinking, but we're all in this profession because we do want to help. We do love the
Yeah.
clients.
This
What
is
we
the
love.
job.
Literally, like we didn't study for 4 years and get a massive loan for nothing. Like it actually is. And if we are meeting and working with clients that light our fire and make us feel great about our job, then that actually makes us want to work harder, makes us want to see more clients, be more profitable as a business. All those kinds of things act as a flow on.
Yeah.
So in my head, it was very like obvious, but the more I discussed it with, at the time, a big corporate company, I realized, nah, this just doesn't align with where I'm at. This doesn't align with best practice. This doesn't align with honoring the staff and the team. I thought, if they're not even going to listen to me, and I feel like I've got the knowledge and I've got the skills, I might just try just doing it as a sole trader. I'll just do it by myself and that'll be it. That'll be fine. And I think for me, again, I was on maternity leave. I was only 3 months postpartum. And I was like, I'm going to start my own business. That sounds like a great idea. Apparently, that's quite a common thing, which I think it's common ADHDers. They have a baby and then they have a business baby, apparently, is like a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah. I had
And
3.
yeah, so good. It's so good.
This one really works.
Yeah. Amazing. And yeah, it comes together. You have your why, you have your purpose, and you have the flexibility. And I presented at the National OT conference maybe 3 weeks after I started my business. And then I had them come up to me being like, I want to work for you. And I was like, no, you don't. Mm-mm. Nope. And fortunately for me, I had a very persistent fourth year OT student at the time. And she was like, I'm going to work for you. And I was like, you're not. But no, I'm just fresh. I'm postpartum. There's only so much I can tackle. And then at this time, I was getting a lot more referrals through, and I was thinking, okay, I'm a yes person. I want to support all these people, but I physically can't. I'm seeing 9 clients a day. This is not sustainable.
Wow, no.
Like it's just too much. And having to say to clients, let's move sessions shorter and shorter to fit more and more clients in.
Yeah.
From a financial standpoint, didn't change the finances.
No.
We're seeing the same build time.
Yeah.
And also being 3 months postpartum, my son went through all the sleep regressions and I was getting like terrible sleep. So trying to navigate all that was really tricky. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give you 2 clients. I'm going to work with you and I'm going to do it very gradual and know that it's more me. It's me, not you. It's my trust. This business will become my baby. I'm very protective and I want to see it thrive a certain way. And yeah, like to this day, she is still with us. She is by far one of the top performers. She like sees 50 clients a week and
Amazing.
absolutely adore her, and she just smashes all her goals. And people cannot believe that she's only had 2 years of experience because yeah, she's just phenomenal. But I think that for me really lit my fire. That's what motivates me more now than as a therapist, because as a therapist, I could only see those 50 clients. But knowing that I can raise and support a team of maybe 20 odd therapists, they can then see the 50 odd clients.
Yeah.
That bigger impact is so cool. So yeah, now navigating a very neurodivergent team and navigating just the different, like the storming, norming, forming of the group dynamics and figuring out how we all gel, and everything sounds great in theory. And that's what I always tell everyone. It sounds great in theory. We have great ideas. We've got great policies, but actually how do we action this? And how does this actually make sense? Because a lot of the time, and I think maybe being neurodivergent as well, I've read all the books. That's my default, is I read all the books. And it's, for example, we got our first clinic in March last year, so it's about a year in this clinic. I read all the books, and the books basically said neurodivergent people have to have their own room, have to have their own space, ideally with lighting that they can control and like fidgets and all of that type of stuff. And I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. So I got a clinic that had, I think it has maybe 8 or 9 little rooms.
Wow, yeah.
So I was like, yep, that's perfect. That would be great for our team. And then I think it was within the first hour, the first thing all the staff did was put all the desks together and sit together. And I went, "This is not what I read." And it was
This is
really
not what you're
interesting.
meant to watch.
Literally, and it was so interesting because they were like, "Of course, that's what people want when you work in a neurotypical workplace. Like, when you
Mm,
work with a culture that doesn't align with your nervous system, you
you
need those
want to get
separate rooms
out.
to reset. But if you don't actually need the reset space, or you don't need you don't need the kinda calm down rooms or whatever they call
Mm,
them these days, actually, by creating the entire environment to be safe and affirming, then it doesn't matter what the physical space actually looks like, the
yeah,
physical rooms look like. It's all about having access to everything, and just yeah, it was really eye-opening that, "Oh my gosh, what are we doing? This is so against all the books, all
yeah,
against everything that we've read."
yeah,
And that fear of, "I can really get this wrong," because there isn't really a rule book or a guideline around how to do this, let alone how to do this successfully.
definitely, yeah,
So lots and lots of learning, lots and lots of growing. It's definitely a huge journey and a huge challenge, I would say. And then obviously you throw in the fact of your own neurodivergence and figuring all of that out at the same time.
yeah,
But interestingly, it's been a really great place to work because we're all figuring out our own experiences, and we can share
yeah,
that as part of our clinical and our lived experiences that our clients really like gravitate to anyway.
yeah. It's amazing because it means that casual conversations, like in the break room or whatever, you get to pick up on other people's habits that you thought were just yours. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I did that. I do that. This is how I get over it, or this is how like lean into it, or whatever. So yeah, those conversations which wouldn't have happened perhaps in a different office environment can happen now, which helps that learning along the way.
absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that really shocked me the first year was the lack of apologizing.
Mm,
I think I realized how much effort and energy was spent saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry for interrupting you," or "I'm
mm.
so sorry for not making enough eye contact," or "I'm so sorry for being so fast." We just It's amazing how much more energy we have when we don't have to apologize for every little thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's it creates clears the pathway, doesn't it, just for information to be shared without the expectations of social norms or whatever. Obviously, if you're an asshole, you're still an asshole. It doesn't matter if you're neurotypical or not.
Yeah.
But not having to say you're sorry when you haven't been an asshole is quite nice.
That's it, and just being able to have those frank conversations, like, I've definitely had to let stuff go and things like that, and had to
Mm,
really draw really firm boundaries on, "This is not because of you being too much or being too intense or being requesting a lot of different things. It's nothing to do with your neurodivergence. I need you seeing clients, and you couldn't consistently see clients. That's
yeah,
where there's a lack of ability to do your job. It's
yeah,
nothing to do with your personality, your neurodivergence, any of that. Is it going to impact it? Obviously, to a degree, but that
yeah,
is not the sole reason for this. It's
yeah.
just, yeah.
With the right supports and understanding, then it's like the workload is the workload.
That's it, and it's still not for everybody. Like, we've had
Mm,
a therapist who had dysgraphia, and we had AI, we had a scribe, we had videoed sessions, we were doing all the things to try and get them to do session notes, and just couldn't do it because by mid-20s, you've had so many years of, "This is hard and this is bad," so you're naturally gonna
mm,
avoid it, but also, whilst you can be affirmed and have all these supports, it's still changed to then accept them and use them.
yeah,
And so it got to this really tough spot of being like, they're not doing their notes. Obviously, dysgraphia is really impacting them quite significantly. But in
mm,
terms of how else we can support them, that the note is still a legal requirement for therapists to do. So
yeah,
ultimately, it got to going to HR and being like, where's the give and take here?
yeah,
Because we're at the point of we've reduced days, we've reduced like
mm.
KPIs, we're reducing pay, but like at
We
what
still just
point?
need the notes. Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we'll still have that client calling up being like, "What's this invoice for?" And I don't
Mm,
have a note to say what the session was about or what happened. So
yeah.
from an accountability standpoint, the risk was just too great. And in those situations, it's really tricky because, of course, it comes back to you're not being neuroaffirming because this is my disability.
But
And at the
also,
same time, it's
you
like,
have to pick up the tools and you're right, the one tool might not work, but you have to come to the party somewhere along the line
yeah,
because this is your job forevermore if this is what you want, and your environment is the one place to learn how to get it done. Hello, I'm Joan Hatchard, founder of Better Being Me and creator of Be Me Completely. For years, I worked with families across Australia, helping them understand and support their neurodivergent children. But what I've seen over and over again is a growing number of women silently screaming for help. Women who've spent their lives adapting, masking, and trying to keep everything together, only to realise that they've lost themselves in the process. This is why I've created Be Me Completely, an 8-week program designed specifically for late identifying neurodivergent women. I help you reclaim your identity and embrace who you are. Come with me as we peel back the mask and learn to feel comfort in the world. This isn't about fixing yourself. You are never broken. This is about putting your needs on the table, recognizing your strengths, and learning to live in a way that works for you. Join me for 8 weeks of support backed by a lifetime of access so you can finally remember who you are, because my life is better being me and your life is better being you. So there's a saying that my friends and I have. You can't lead a horse to water, but you can fucking drown that bitch. Like, drink or drown, bitch. So there is only so much before the person has to then help themselves.
that's
In my work and my program, we talk about what it is that you want, what it is that you want to bring in, because if you don't ask for it, I can guarantee you won't get it. But if you do ask for it, I can't guarantee that you will get it, but it starts a conversation, and it just means that you are responsible for your portion of it. It needs to come, like the motivation needs to come from inward, and recognize the tools are available. You can be shit at anything, but the tools are going to be there to help you be less shit at it. You're still going to be like, the notes may have been crap, but they existed, and that'll do.
literally absolutely. And like our biggest thing is done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about if you stuff up, we talk about when you stuff up.
Yes.
Because being neurodivergent, being a neurodiverse team, let's just cut the rubbish and let's just say when you stuff up, it's about who can you lean on, who do you go to, and how do you resolve it.
Yeah.
Because if you're living in the land of, oh, I want to be perfect, and then one, I don't think you're ready to work in a neurodivergent team because we all make loads of mistakes
Yeah.
all of the time.
Yeah.
And if you aren't comfortable owning your mistakes, then you're going to be even more uncomfortable watching other people own their mistakes.
Yeah.
And we do have quite a strong sense of justice. So we want to see justice be delivered and we want it to see a certain way. But at the same time, being able to acknowledge that everyone else is on their own journeys and in their own pathway. And no one grows when they feel threatened or defensive. So
Yeah.
walking into spaces where there's very high energy, high anger, it's that alone as an environment, regardless of what the issue is, regardless if it's warranted, most neurodivergent people won't thrive in that environment. So it's almost like, let's reset everything and let's come back to, maybe it's not even doing it face to face, maybe it's doing it written, maybe it's voice noting it. Like it's actually looking at communication more broadly and saying, this is obviously a very heated topic for you. How can you best communicate this so that you're understood? We want that. Especially in the world of business, it should be a win-win for everybody. And if it's
Yeah.
not, I don't think I don't think I can do you justice. And I know that the world has enough challenge and adversity. I would hate to think that I'd contribute to that. So when I have staff that really feel like they're struggling with the systems or with the business, I'm very quick to be like, maybe we're not the best fit for you, because I don't want to keep pushing and keep fighting for something that isn't the right fit, because we see that all the time in the school systems. They go to school, they're there because the mum says they have to be there. They really get so much more trauma and hardships that they have to spend years working through. Whereas I think especially in our industry, there's not enough neurodivergent therapists. So I don't want to burn out the
You don't want
therapist.
to burn out the ones that come along.
Yeah. So if I'm not the best business to work with or work for, then please find what that is, because the industry needs you, the clients need you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have to zoom out a little bit to have that lens, which can be
Yeah.
really hard
Yeah.
when the
And you can
business.
hear in the way that you speak, like there's no malice there at all. When I was on placement, the woman that ran the women's shelter I was working at, everybody was defensive and she was accusatory. And it meant that language and communication wasn't easily shared.
Yeah.
So then you would get the language of, I guess this happened. I'm like, fucker, I was there. What happened? There's
Yeah.
no, I guess, because that
No.
like wavers the strength of the
Gaslight.
information. And
Yeah.
like you're diluting everything in order to appease the accuser. But when you say maybe I'm not the best for you, is honestly, this is just, that's just the truth.
Yeah, and that holds me accountable as well as it
Mm,
holds them accountable, because every day that you go to work, you're making the choice to be there.
yeah.
And I think that like that in terms of the relationships we have with the people in our lives, I think about that in terms of the activities and how we choose to spend our time. There is a
Mm,
reason why I'm choosing to do this activity over something else. I could be doing the dishes or I could be playing with my kiddo, but there's a reason I'm playing with my kiddo, because that's what I value. And that's an
mm,
informed decision. Those dishes are probably going to get gross, or there's always contingencies and
everything.
consequences of all those things. But we have to step into that power and remind ourselves that we do have the choice, even when we're in the most toughest of situations. And so just having that reminder of you're not stuck, especially in the
Mm,
workplace, you're not stuck. You can go elsewhere. You can go. The work that you need to do and want to do is so needed. So
mm.
yeah, enjoy the ride. I'd love to say hold on to your therapist forever or hold on to your team forever. But I always say to them, it's more about I want them to look back and be like, that was a really great time, or that was a really great learning experience,
Mm.
because that's a lot more realistic and sets us all up for a lot more, yeah, a lot
Yeah,
positive.
and it reduces the competition.
Absolutely. And the
Like,
competition in the neurodiversity space is just bizarre to me. I cannot wrap my head around it to save myself. Like, just you're literally all fighting for inclusion whilst hating on each other. Like, it doesn't
yeah,
really make any sense. And it's almost like if we can fix or if we can better support the people that are championing the movement to better unite, maybe we'd have
mm,
more luck with supporting this wider community and society too.
yeah,
But I think
yeah,
there's so many different aspects of the imbalance. And I think
mm,
things like the health professional imbalances and the perceptions of, say, psychiatry being more important than social work and more important than
mm,
nursing. There's all of these ingrained hierarchies in our society. And sometimes in the neurodiversity space, I think we need to get better at pulling that apart. I think we've slowly gotten better at pulling apart the sexism and the racism side of our healthcare department and our healthcare industry. But I think the next steps are actually like your job title, because
yeah,
what does your job title actually mean, and how does that actually impact the clients and the communities that we support, because we're all working towards a shared goal.
yeah. And I think you can see it in, I think there's probably three camps that I can probably pull out of my brain at the moment. There's the victim mentality where the disability is your life and you cannot see how the tools or anything else will help you utilize improving your life. This is just it. And so you're going to, I am disabled, neurodivergence, depending on the, doesn't really matter, depending on the diagnosis, it's a disability, and therefore this is where I am. And then I feel like it's very defensive. Every interaction, there's a defense of this is just who I am. This is the world needs to change. And you hear that repertoire a lot around the world wasn't built for me. The world was fucking built. We're existing in this society. It was built with us there.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't fucking work, it doesn't fucking work. We find a different way. Nobody's ending the world, touch wood all over the place, at
Yeah.
this moment in time. So it means it hasn't ended. So we get to try again. We get to try different. And if it hasn't worked up until now, then is just an opportunity to change, right? And then you get people like yourself who's like, all right, this is what I got. Let's go. Let's see what I can do. Let's bring in all this stuff and let's make everybody feel the same amount of empowerment and opportunities and capacity. And I think what we need is more of you in the speaking arenas and conferences and less about the I don't want to get myself canceled, but less of the world wasn't built for us mentality because it
Yeah,
means that you're fighting a war that doesn't exist.
that's it. And we're fueling the anger.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of anger for
Mm.
so long, and there's only so much progress we can make with anger.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes those little seeds or those little golden nuggets of hope can
Mm.
do so much more work than anger can. And whilst there's space for the storytelling and the sharing of experiences and the validating of that, doing that in a really public space, in a really public arena, is quite risky at times because we can't guarantee everyone's mental state going into those sorts of things. And I think that we have to be much more accountable for the messaging and the what am I trying to say? We have to be careful about like the messaging that we're trying to put across.
Yeah.
There's enough fear mongering, there's enough scare tactic and misinformation out there.
Yeah.
What is there not enough of? And I think that for me, there's not enough of hope, there's not enough of unity, and there's not enough of multi-disc teams and people working together to show that the best practice consistently is collaboration.
Yeah.
The most people are stuck because they have one person in their little rowboat going upstream. We need to
Mm.
add more people to this rowboat. And
Yeah.
the more people that we add, the faster we're going to move and the more progress we're going to make, but also without burning out the people that are already in the boat.
Yeah.
Because whilst you can want to just row harder, we know that actually doesn't get the outcome that many of us need. And
Mm.
sometimes we just need a different perspective. We do need a different discipline. We do need a different specialty. One of my really cool experiences was working in the autism diagnostic clinic. And so we would do the ADOS 3 times a day, and they
Whoa.
would get a diagnosis then and there. It was very quick, very short, fast,
Oh,
but it
wow.
was
Yeah.
really well done. So it was like an OT, a speech, a psych, and a pediatrician all together. And we would diagnose on the spot with all of them. And it was fascinating. I learned on steroids how important the multi-disc team was. So
Mm.
we had this 10-year-old girl, and she put her hand over her mouth, like just underneath her nose.
Mm.
And she did a lot of her assessment like that. And OT hat, I'm like, oh, sensory. Maybe she's smelling something. Maybe she's like wanting that input around her mouth. And then the speech is, oh no, I think it's to muffle what she's saying because she's very anxious about being heard.
Mm.
She's trying to communicate in a way that brings people's attention in. And then the psych was like, no, it's an anxiety thing. She's super anxious. So she's trying to hide away, hide her face.
I'd be
And I
like,
was
has she missed a tooth? Is it tooth fell out?
yeah, literally. And it was just this like so like immediate to be like, we could all be wrong or we could
Yeah.
all be right, or one of
Yeah.
us could be like, how do we actually pull that
Define it.
apart?
Yeah.
And sometimes we are so into our scope and so into what we know and what
Mm.
we know to be true, that's then what we see. And
Yep.
so to have different perspectives to be like, actually, this is what I'm seeing. This is the challenge. Like, for example, in my second year of clinical practice, I had worked in the school and the boy had this thing about bums. So anytime, to be fair, he was short, so it was at like bum height.
Bum
So he would
height.
always see everyone at bum height. And he would just go bum and he'd point to different people's bums. And they were like, okay, this is a behavior. We need some supports in here. Let's get the OT in. I come and we did a lot of around maybe he doesn't have the other like social skills to initiate interactions. Maybe we can do
Mm.
high fives and so we did that for about a term and we worked on this bum problem behavior. And eventually we did really great. He really stopped doing that and we got much better with high fives. He was able to interact with the ball and do games. It was so cool. And then it must have been like the next term, we came back from school holidays and I stood up because I was sitting next to him and he went, bum. And I went, no. oh my gosh, we're back here. I thought we had smashed this goal. I was so angry. I was so disappointed in myself. I was so frustrated. So I organized a meeting with everyone the next day. I said, okay, we're going to need the parents, we're going to need the school team, we're going to need management. Everyone come together tomorrow after school, back in. The strategies didn't work. And then I went home and I changed my pants and I had satin Play-Doh. And he is trying to tell me that there was Play-Doh on my bum. So I had to go back the next day and
Cancel it all.
explain. Yeah, there was no bum issue. We have rectified this. It's just the lens that we see the behavior and we have that contingency bias of sense. And if it makes sense to me, then this must be true. And actually, it's pretty scary and uncertain when we realize how much of that isn't actually true. Just because I think that might be the case doesn't make it true.
You bring up a beautiful point for our little neurodivergent brains, because I don't know about you, but I've had many an argument and conversation with nobody else but myself and playing all the roles
Yeah.
and created a whole universe based on fucking nothing and then acted as though this was actual facts.
Yeah.
Only to find out years later, because I don't talk about any of it, so it just stays there.
Yeah.
And then it's actually, no, that's not true. I'm like,
Whoops. Whoopsie daisy.
let me try that again.
Yeah.
But you do that internally so much personally. And then when you move it into the profession, it really helps to have that internal monologue coming out of your mouth. Sometimes it means you're going to talk more than even you thought possible. But
I think what's nice in the therapy world as well is because of that note taking, you have to write it down. So it helps to like make it more tangible. And I think we see that as an effective support, like journaling and writing down our thoughts and stuff is evidence-based. It's great practice for people, not just for therapists, but because therapy says we have to do it, it helps keep us a little bit more grounded than in our everyday life because we don't have that same weight of the family's going to read this or the client's going to read this. But yeah,
me reading this, going, what the
that's
fuck?
it.
I do remember reading my diaries from when I was 13 or whatever. I'm going, what the fuck was I talking about? You're not even making sense to yourself right now.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And it's so interesting reading back hindsight and being like, did I genuinely think this? Like,
Yeah.
was this actually what I thought? Or was I living in a fantasy bubble and I was actually so dissociated I wasn't even aware of things? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting how the brain just tries to cope with the information that it has.
Mm.
And it does its best with the tools that it has at that point in time.
Yeah.
And obviously going through puberty, going through pregnancy, going through postpartum, going through perimenopause, like these massive hormonal changes and shifts, naturally that's going to change a lot of our cognitive functioning and our capacity. But because no one's really talked about that before, it's like,
The brand
oh,
new thing. Yeah.
yeah, aren't all teenagers just dramatic? I remember watching like The Real Housewives. I'm terrible with loving those shows, but most of them are in like their 60s. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, we really don't age out of drama. And then it clicked. So I was like, of course not. Like they're probably perimenopausal or menopausal women. They're the exact same as teenage girls.
Yes.
Like,
But also they're getting paid a shit ton to bring the drama, because otherwise what the fuck?
exactly.
Nobody wants to turn on TV and watch me napping because I'm exhausted.
Yeah, absolutely. And for them, it's a lot more like it's legal to drink and things like that. So they just add a few different things to help it go. But it's just
Throw a
wow.
husband doing dirty things in there somewhere along the line.
Oh, craziness.
I
But yeah,
can't
it's really
watch those shows purely for the, like, it's almost secondhand embarrassment or secondhand, just shut the fuck up. Like,
yeah, fair, fair. I always say to my husband, like, because I grew up in a very neurodivergent household that weren't that aware of it,
mm,
we talked a lot about our family being a cult. And now in hindsight, I'm like, was it a cult or was it just neurodivergent wrapped
yeah,
up? And I'm sure there's parts of it that it's both true in both
yeah.
different ways. But you just try and make sense of it when you're in it. You're just
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to, because it just
Get through.
becomes normal. So you're like, oh, well, I thought everyone spoke like that. I didn't
Mm,
think that was any different. But yeah, like I'm so used to that high level drama intensity that I always say to my husband, I'm like, I need that in a show to scratch that itch so that my life can be as chill and as boring as possible. Because it just my nervous system's not used to not having that. So it wants something to panic about, and it's seeking that out. And if I don't give it to it, it then creates it, which
It'll burn some shit down.
yeah, absolutely, which is not what I want. But, yeah, it's taken a lot to figure out how much of it is that complex PTSD, how much of it is the neurodivergence. Like,
Mm,
obviously nowadays in the past 5, 10 years, we've gotten a lot better with pronouns. We've gotten a lot better with multiple personality and did and
mm,
those sorts of things. And something that I learnt much later on was how much I struggled with utilizing collective pronouns like we,
mm,
they, because growing up, that was used as a kind of a way to trap us into thinking certain things. So it was like,
mm,
we don't do that. We are going to do this, as in
mm.
you don't get a voice because the collective of the family has made this decision. So
Yeah.
it was really interesting navigating some of those kinds of conversations where people that I work with and that I'm huge fans of and support are utilizing those language. And yeah, I would get so triggered. And I'm like,
Mm.
not we. And I almost would get into this superhero. I need to rescue them from these people that are holding
Like,
them back
right.
from
Yeah.
being themselves because someone is talking for them.
Yeah.
Really having to engage and dig deep in figuring out, actually, this is my bias, this is my issue, this is not theirs, this has nothing to do with them or the
Mm.
pronouns that they choose or how they choose to identify and understand their identity. This is on me and the narrative that I have.
That you're
Because
bringing to
even
the
now
party.
within the business, we all talk like business talk is like, we at Neuroinclusion is like,
Yeah.
oh, and you even see it with businesses be like, "We are a family," and I'm like, "Oh, no,
Nah.
don't do any of that stuff," because that stuff is often yeah, is often language that we see in those kind of voluntary environments
Exactly.
that can be really difficult to navigate. So being
Yeah.
able to acknowledge, like, when it's me that's the problem or when it's my bias has been
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing, but the best thing long term.
Oh, it definitely it motivates the learning along the way very quickly, doesn't it? I do talk about myself in the we. I've always done it. I am the royal we. It confuses
Amazing.
people sometimes, but it's just me. It's what I mean by we.
Yeah, it's but sometimes it's also just like yeah, we
Mm.
just pick up on it, and I sometimes find that I felt safer saying "we" because I was like, I was part of a collective, it wasn't just my
Yeah,
perspective, it was like a cloak that I could add to be like, "We don't think that, it's not just
yeah,
me, like, I've got a
yeah.
collective, I don't know who they are, but, we're
They're
collectively
around.
deciding this thing." Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, it's really interesting the language we use and the power of that, and the more that we learn about those sorts of things, the pieces that come together, you're like,
Oh yeah,
"Oh." Like, it could be it could be multiple personalities, or it could just be like, I'm coping, or it could be all the different things, and it
mm,
just depends on, like, how we feel and how we process it that matters, not
yeah,
necessarily what a piece of paper says or
yeah.
any of that jazz, but yeah.
All of that, all of the things. We have come into time, so
Yeah.
thank you very much. Big conversations that we could keep on talking on, and we haven't barely even touched on your experience in meeting your husband and the nervousness of being 3 babies coming up, or just one baby, 2 kids, 3 kids,
3 kids, but 1 this time, thank goodness.
just one at a time.
What a time.
Probably the preferred method.
Yes, absolutely. 1000%.
And then the learning you get each time, right? So, those that are lucky to have more than one, you get to do the experience, but with the new knowledge. So by the third time, you should be sweet. No drama.
Oh, on paper, that sounds great.
In theory.
In theory, everything's great in theory. We love theory. It's safe in there. There's
Yeah.
no extraneous variables. It's so much easier.
Yeah. And then life comes along and goes, by the way, we found a new thing
Yeah,
here.
that's it. Absolutely. Oh, so tricky.
So, if you would like to have a shout out to Neuroinclusion, and so you're based in WA.
Yeah, so we've got a WA clinic and we've also provide face-to-face services in Melbourne, and then we provide telehealth all across Australia. So yes,
Fantastic.
very exciting.
Excellent. Excellent. What is a little snippet that you would like to leave our listeners with?
I think what we've talked on today are around, yeah, making things make sense for you is more important than making them make sense on a piece of paper. And
Yeah.
just being able to connect with people who understand you is all the most powerful thing, and not necessarily around who's the best health professional based on title, but on the connection that you can have with them. And yeah.
And it's me, so that's easier.
Yeah, exactly. So good.
Oh,
It
we didn't even talk about the awards that you won at Neuro Childkind.
was
Like
so cool.
2
So
awards
surreal. My
that you
goodness.
won. Amazing. And yeah, you did have a strapless dress on, so it did make you look naked somehow.
That was great. I stood behind the lectern and I looked naked, and I also didn't prep a speech or anything. And it was a learning curve.
It was big, and that
I'm
was like the first week you found out you were
afterwards.
pregnant, so it was a big week for you.
It was a huge week, a lot of emotions. I didn't know if I was crying because I was happy, overwhelmed. Like, it was just a lot of emotions.
A lot of all the things.
All the
Well,
things, exactly.
I'm extremely happy that it brought us together and we got to have a chat and catch up and come join our little universes
Yes.
briefly, although forever in social media.
Yes, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
And thank you for showing how business can be done differently and the impact of having knowledge of your neurodivergence and how you can utilize the skills that make life better for you and for others and for business and for little babies that come along the way. So thank you very much for your time. I'm ready for a business masterclass whenever you are. That'd be great.
Oh gosh, I feel like I have a lot more learning to do before then, but we'll see. We'll see how we go.
Like next week. Okay, so
But
I
thank
read
you so much
everything.
for the time.
We'll do it.
Amazing. All right, I'm gonna run away because I do have a client, but thank you so
Beautiful.
much.
Not a problem. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you. If this episode has resonated with you, chances are it'll resonate with someone else too. Sharing the podcast is one of the best ways to help others who might be feeling stuck, unheard, or just needing a little nudge towards understanding themselves better. So if you found something useful here today, take a moment to share it. Send it to a friend, post it in a group, or even just screenshot it and pop it in your socials. Tag me so I can say thank you. If you haven't already, hit follow, leave a review, or rate the show. It makes a huge difference in getting this out to more people who need it. Your support means the world. Thank you for being here.